All right, boys and girls, Code and I are here to talk about all the things with this fantasy football league. Sent a message to him saying top secret meeting, and here we are as we get ready to kick the league back off. So, um, yeah, I mean, we'll just kind of get right into it. It's nice being a fucking loser again because I can. Everybody's first of all, everybody's nice to me again, and second of all, because I get to talk about other teams without having expectations for my own. Because 104, here I come. So let's just kind of talk about your team. I mean, you made an incredible playoff run, kind of hodgepodging the super flex position. Um, you're one of the teams that, in my opinion, has come out of last year stronger. As I get ready to pull the roster up here, um, and your team is going in the right direction. You made it to the championship last year. Do you have that same expectation this year to end up in the Super Bowl again? Are you happy with winning the division? You know, what are your plans for this year specifically? And then let's talk also about the broader term as well.
I mean, yeah, as it relates to like our rebrand and our roster and the moves I've made in the off season, I've been just pretty ecstatic about like everything. I mean, I think like all things considered, I know I have like some cap issues like later on in the future, but those are like 2027's problems right now. And I think if like I mean, you think of like in terms of a startup, it's like if I could have this roster that I've currently got, meaning that I lose all my 2025 picks, I think I'm still okay with that like handshake.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think um, sky's the limit. I guess I'm anticipating to make a run at the playoffs, and that's really all I can ask for. But we'll hope that we make it to the playoffs and see what happens from there.
Yeah, and I think that you make a point. If we look at all of the that's the wrong thing on this website. This fucking website sucks. Who made this website? If we look at all of the teams and their cap situation, usually you see like a big jump. Like Dan Flashes has a big jump. Project BaaadAss has a big jump. A decent sized jump for the Deli. Going up 316 is a big jump, even though he's at zero here. $400 here. $450 there. I think I'm the same way, right? Like a huge jump there. You don't have that. You've kind of got some steady consistency because your team is kind of built. You've got 16 and then 8. You know, only having 8 players on the roster and $213 here from that Josh Allen cut, a little scary. But when you look at the 8 players you've got on your team, you've got Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Devonta Smith, Zay Flowers, Calvin Ridley, really good core, and then you've got the 2 rookies. So, when you look at it I think that you're definitely a contender this year. When you look at it on a broader term, are you happy with the direction your team's going? Do you plan on kind of continuing to build out? There's no rebuild window in like right now. Do you feel like you have a window where it's got to be this year, next year, or it's got to be this year or 3 years? Like, or do you think your window is really wide open the way that your team's constructed?
I think it's like wide open. I mean, I know that like really with this league, like the cap is like the thing, but I mean, I know we've been preaching the cap's not real, but we saw what happened
It's
this
real.
offseason.
Yeah, it's
It's
real.
real. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like, um, I'm paying my starting QBs. Like if one of them goes down with the injury, I mean, we see it happening so far this preseason and training camp. People are just getting hurt left and right. It's football. I mean, it's going to happen. So like if my guys make it through this season and I go on a run, that's great. If something happens, then it's like what, it is what it is. We'll just take it, tackle it next year because I mean, I think the thing with like Mixon is that like he's not going to be on the roster long term with that kind of contract.
Yeah,
I mean, I have guys that I've
and you got him
drafted,
for
guys.
free.
Yeah, well, not necessarily. I mean, that's eating a lot of cap because like theoretically, like if I didn't take that deal, I'd have 139 extra,
Yeah,
fictional
yeah.
fab dollars spread around. But um, that move just made sense for the direction of my team for this year.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that like the next 3 years, hey, having Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, it's like what more can you ask for? Right? Unless you're one of the people that's like Mahomes, but I'll take my boy Jalen any day.
Yeah. Still, I think thinking back to the startup draft, still the biggest risk how much he spent on him, and still one of the biggest payoffs. Um, I would argue that Hurts and Jordan Love, two of the biggest payoffs from the
Yeah.
startup draft and how it went. Let's talk a little bit more about your running back room, right? So you look at your receiver room, great. Quarterback room, great. Tight end, a lot of people, if I'm not mistaken, including yourself, are very high on Freiermuth. You've also got Dalton Schultz there. Jonnu Smith, who could make some noise, but your running back room is where it gets a little bit sticky. Really, a bunch of random dudes, in addition to Kyron Williams and Joe Mixon, Singletary. None of these high producers. Does that worry you at all? Are you totally fine with it, right? None of those guys I feel like are going to go off for 25 points in a game. They're also not going to walk away from the week with 3 points a game. You know what I mean? So are you kind of happy to ride that steady train there?
Yeah, that was definitely the goal, considering I'm paying Hurts and Allen to produce, and then I've got a pretty solid receiver room, I think, especially after the AJ Brown trade. That I
Yep.
think the AJ Brown trade really solidified things for me. Because if I hadn't had that, it might have been a little questionable. But yeah, as far as like running backs go, I mean, they're getting paid what they're getting paid, and I just need them to not suck completely. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if I have to win Singletary for a bye week, I'm not like stressing it. I mean, we'll see what happens during the season, but right now, yeah, I think like as far as the whole roster construction is just really balanced. I kind of like didn't really want to trade Kittle away, but thing with that Kittle deal that I made with Unicorn, and I hope Kittle plays well for him this year. Um, thing about that trade was that I'm just not re-signing him because I tagged him,
Yeah.
and I kind of tagged him with the expectation to trade him, and then I realized that his market sucked complete ass, and I'm like, why is this? Because Kittle's a good football player. But yeah, I ended up making that deal for Singletary, and I'm not like overjoyed because I was like thinking like, yeah, talent wise, I'd take Kittle any day of the week,
Right.
but for my situation, I was like, I'll just take the running back that I can just fill in for Kyron when he, undoubtedly goes down for a couple games.
Yeah, and it looks like the Singletary bet might have paid off if Tracy really is hurt, and all those things. And I mean, I'm high on Singletary. I've taken a lot Singletary in a lot of best ball leagues. I just think, I don't think he's anything special, but I think he's you know what you got, and I feel like he's not going to be anything special in New York. Neither is anybody else in New York, except for maybe neighbors. So, sorry, Rick. Um, but yeah,
I mean,
I think he's a steady Eddie play. If you're plugging him in the flex spot or your RB2 spot, I think it's okay. I don't think it's sexy. I think it's fine.
yeah.
So, um, what do you think? Overrated, most overrated team in the league, in your opinion, if you had to pick a team here, who do you think it may or may not be, just from your perspective?
Put me on a spot.
Yeah.
Overrated.
Also going to ask you underrated as well, so start chewing on that one too.
Underrated and overrated.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of hard to say this early for overrated. Um, because like I don't really
I
want to
bet I know
pick
you
on
say for
Allen.
underrated.
I don't really want to pick on Allen
Why
because
not?
Plantar fasciitis or whatever, and then Justin Fields may not start over Russ. So like his quarterback situation's weird, and then he's also got the CeeDee Lamb hold on top, which hopefully he gets paid. Even though I wouldn't like that as an Eagles fan, I still want him to get his money.
Correct.
Want Jerry to stop playing games, but
Yeah.
like one
He
of the
never
best
will.
receivers.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I actually kind of think Allen could be underrated if all of that stuff like resolved. But right
If it all
now, that's
clicks.
such that's such a massive mess right now, and hopefully he gets some clarity on some things because otherwise he's going into the season really struggling.
Yeah, I mean, you look at
Um,
that starting roster, right? I mean, Stroud, Herbert, Bijan, Ken Walker, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, George Pickens, Mark Andrews, Xavier Worthy. Shakir, who the heck knows what's going to happen there in Buffalo, but not a bad worst flex option. Some pieces here. I love the Panix pick. I'm a big Panix guy, just based off of draft position matters. Likely
Remember
and
the last
plug in.
remember the last time that Atlanta drafted a left-hander?
Who was it? Was it Matt Ryan or was Matt a lefty?
Vic. Yeah.
Who?
Michael Vick.
Oh,
Michael
Vic.
Vick.
Yeah. The GOAT. I should put his jersey on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Alan's team for underrated. I've been an Alan hater, I think, the whole time. I swore I thought you were gonna pick your fan. I thought you were gonna fanboy over Morgan again, but you didn't. I'm proud of you. But yeah,
No,
I like Alan as an
know.
underrated team because I feel like he's got a bad stigma about him this year, but it's not a bad lineup. So yeah. All right.
Yeah,
well, that is. Oh, go ahead. Final thoughts
I was just
here.
gonna add about Morgan's team. Like he's dealing with those injuries now, which sucks. Nobody ever wants to be dealing with injuries at this time.
Yeah,
It's just like
already.
the most stressful time of the dynasty, like off season, preseason stuff is just hoping your players make it through the training camps healthy.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Uh,
All right. Well, short and sweet. That does it for us. I've got to run. Anything else that you've got? 30 seconds. Go.
Yeah, I'm just excited to be back. This is Blind and I love doing this, with all of you guys, and it's nice to get a little break, little reprieve from the constant weekly streams and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's
Back
happy
in the
to be
grind
here
scene.
with this.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Thanks for the time codes, especially since the day got more exciting than you anticipated. And we will talk to you soon. Week 1 stream soon.
Yep. See you, everybody.